was Solomon. Solomon, who is the second son of David, was born in 3180 BC in a place called Bet Megdash, nowadays known as Jerusalem. When David died, Solomon decided to follow his father's footsteps of becoming the next king and prophet. After becoming king, he was given 3 powers by God. The first power was to talk to animals. The second power was to give orders to the 4 major elements: water, fire, wind, and earth. And lastly, the third power was to see and communicate with the supernatural. During his reign as king, there were many people that didn't believe in God and tried finding something that they could believe in. One day, a woodpecker was sitting nearby, and Solomon heard him say that on the east side of the Red Sea, in a place nowadays called Yemen, lives a great amount of people under the control of a queen named Saba, and that she makes her people worship the sun. When Solomon heard this, he gave the bird a letter to deliver to the queen. The letter wrote, "From Solomon, God's servant, I assure you that there is a God with eternal strength, whom you should all have faith in, and if you don't, I will make you believe in him with the power of God." The woodpecker flew and flew, until it eventually arrived and dropped the message onto the queen. The queen read Solomon's letter and did not believe anything he said. Instead, she prepared an army to send to war. Solomon did not receive an answer back, so he decided to send another letter. As you can guess, they didn't believe him again, so he decided to show them the power of God. The next day, he spoke to his people and asked them a question. He asked, "Can anyone bring me the throne as well as the Queen Saba herself?" The first one to volunteer was a genie, who stood up and said, "I can bring her to you before you can even stand up from your chair." Then St. George stood up and said, "I can bring her to you with a blink of an eye." And so he did. St. George did not use magic to teleport her to Solomon. He simply used the power of God. woke up and found herself in Solomon's temple. She cried, asking of how they brought her there. And Solomon answered, I brought you here with the power that the one true God we believe in gave me. After this, the queen brought all her people to Solomon, and made them praise him and believe in one God. Following up next is another story that shows us Solomon's wisdom. Sometime after Saba's kingdom started living with Solomon, he heard a rumor going around that there is a place located in Iraq's desert with a race of people called Jalut and Malut. God gave these people a great power and a big body. Can you just imagine that their nails could dig up stones to build houses, and with their arm strength they could break trees and build roofs? One day Solomon sent his servant, named Azif, to tell these people to come and stay in Solomon's temple, so that they could start believing in one God. It took Azif 18 days on horseback. When the people living there saw him, they ran to ask him what he wanted and what he came there for. So Azif answered, King Solomon gave me orders to come here and ask you to come and stay at his temple, so that he could explain to you who God is, and so that you can start believing in him. From the nerves that they had after hearing this, a man threw a stone which headed towards Azif. But it hit a mountain, and the mountain split in half. Then the man said, Go and tell your king what you have seen. Also, tell him that we won't go anywhere or believe anyone. So Azif went back and told Solomon what he saw. Solomon told him to go for the second time, and for the second time he returned with the same result, except this time the man pulled out a tree from the ground and threw it close to Azif, and the tree made a hole in the ground, so deep that water came out. For the final time, Solomon told Azif to go back and tell them, if you don't come to his temple, he will send agony to kill you. You have 3 days. On the third day, every single one of them came running to Solomon, saying that they would believe anything that he said, if only he could tell them who or what agony is. And Solomon said, Agony is what brought you here, your fear, your imagination. This is magic. It is the knowledge of God. people know about the Ring of Solomon. But did you know that this is all fake? The Ring of Solomon is just a fairy tale that the Jews created within the story of the Greeks. The ring isn't a ring at all. It is a word that says, life is a ring within a ring within a ring. This is the power of Solomon. Next, we heard about the Book of Solomon that was eventually taken and used to form other books about magic, which were used for evil. Have you ever wondered what the Book of Solomon is? The Book of Solomon was given to him by the angels with the allowance of God. This book allowed him to use his powers. Another one of these powers was to talk and see the energy of demons and genies. So he started using his power, which is now known as Solomon's Psalms. When people hear the words Solomon's Psalms and don't know the meaning, they immediately think that Solomon was a warlock and that we use his words for evil. Unfortunately, Solomon was not a warlock, neither did he use magic. He was not evil or bad either. He was just a prophet whose way in life was shown by God to give us a message. Lastly, Solomon's message in life was to make his people believe in one God, one power, as well as to follow the law of God. For example, that you shouldn't kill, that you should obey your parents, etc. He also wanted us to learn to love one another and not to do magic, because Solomon did not use magic. He just had a book with prayers like the Bible for Christians or the Quran for Muslims. This book just helped Solomon come closer to God.